Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. The Phils have won 6 straight baseball games, and Buzzcut Bryce Harper is on absolute fire.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic doing sports talk radio for over 5 years now. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons. This is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. Also available on YouTube. And hitting that subscribe button, it's free, it's easy. It'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted. So I appreciate everyone who's done that and everybody who's going to do that. We're continuing to grow the YouTube audience, so I appreciate everybody very, very much. I appreciate Bryce Harper. He's been on a heater since shaving his head. He has come out of his slump. We're going to talk about that first and foremost, and a little bit about last night's game. But, it's the Rockies. There's only so much you can draw from playing a team this magnitude. It's getting embarrassing at this point. I'm also going to tell you about some Jayson Stark tidbits that I got from a chance to talk to him yesterday over on 97.5 The Fanatic. I talk to him every Wednesday. So every Thursday, we're going to get the opportunity to share with you kind of what he said there. And then we're going to preview Phillies Rockies Game 4. Phils going for the what would be called the mop, as our friends from Cespedes Family Barbecue call it. And in the Jayson Stark segment, when we get into that, a really, really strong number or a couple of numbers in comparison for Jesus Luzardo. But let's start with Bryce Harper because the Phillies, they were working 9 to 5 last night. Yes, that was the final score, word to Dolly Parton. It wasn't that close. It was the same thing as before, right? They absolutely just run up the score, and then the bullpen slowly gives back, trickle back runs, but there's not enough time, and the Rockies aren't good enough, and you end up winning 9 to whatever. Excuse me. And that's what last night was. But Bryce Harper was awesome last night. I mean, a lot of guys were awesome last night. It was a down performance for the Phillies offense. They had 17 hits in Game 1, 17 hits in Game 2. And last night in Game 3, they only had 12 hits and 9 runs. Does this team stink now? The fact that they have 46 hits in 3 games of this series. That's almost 50 hits in a 3-game series. Now they're playing 4 games against the Rockies, so the numbers are going to get even more bizarre today. But just the Phillies dominated. Taijuan Walker had a solid start, got you through 5 innings, which was all you really needed him to do. Stepping in the spot in the rotation normally occupied by Aaron Nola, who's on the injured list. Everything was good. There was nothing majorly notable about last night's game. Turner went yard, Realmuto went yard, Harper went yard. Love to see it. Nice team win where everybody handled their business. But I want to talk about Bryce Harper. I promised. I tweeted it out last night. We're having the Bryce Harper conversation, the Buzzcut Bryce conversation, because I said when he was slumping, what's stopping this team from being great? They're good right now. How could they become great? And I said, I already think they have it in-house. And I think it's Bryce Harper. I think once he starts hitting like the guy that we know he is, all of a sudden the Phillies are going to be a major, major problem for pretty much everybody else in baseball. Well, Harper was struggling. He's tried a bunch of different things. He's gone 2 batting gloves. He's gone no batting gloves. He's gone 1 batting glove. He's changed bats. He's changed types of bats. He's done all kinds of different stuff. And the most drastic change was noticed by everybody across the Delaware Valley, which was the buzz cut. Dude shaved his head. He had the longer hair. He had the flow going. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of this stretch of slumping baseball, shaves his head. Well, since shaving his head, which was 9 games ago, and credit to Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports for putting this out, in the past 9 games with the buzz, Bryce Harper is batting .455, .513 on base percentage. He's got 1 home run. He's got 9 RBIs in those 9 games, averaging 1 per game. 6 runs scored, 1.179 OPS. I mean, Buzzcut Bryce is unbelievable. I don't know if it's the hair. I don't know if it's a swing fix that he's found. I don't know if it's playing the Pirates or the Rockies. But what I do know is Bryce Harper is back. Like the home run he hit last night was proof positive of that. Not because it was Kyle Schwarber 466-foot mammoth blast, but just because Harper had been poking the ball the opposite way, finding holes on the backside of the defense, trying to find a way to just get on base or move runners up, or, hey, you need a fly ball? I'll hit a fly ball. Hey, you need a ball to the right side of the infield? I'll do it and move guys up. Like, he was just putting together good quality at bats. But Bryce Harper is not out there to put together good quality at bats, right? That's part of what he does. But the real benefit of having Bryce Harper on your baseball team is for him to do damage. And he was not doing damage. He was doing a little bit. He was like nicks and cuts and stuff like that. I wanted to take a team's head off. Like, hit a home run that you can't come back from. That type of thing. That's what Bryce Harper is known for in his career. And that's the Bryce Harper the Phillies need. Now, last night, Bryce Harper's home run was not this death blow to the Rockies, who have been dead for what feels like the entirety of the season. Not all due respect to Rockies fans. I feel for you. It's got to be tough out there. Yeah, it's a tough year to be a Rockies fan. But back to Bryce Harper, it was just nice to see him put one out of the yard because it did not mess up his swing. He continued to put good at bats together after hitting the home run, but he was able to show off the power. And now you kind of see everything from the guy. He's seeing the ball well. He's bat-to-ball contact, like, great, through the roof. Power, just saw a glimpse of it start to come back. Maybe he'll go on this, like, hot streak where he starts crushing balls out of the yard. Maybe you'll see him get one again today against the Colorado Rockies in the series ender. Something to keep an eye on there. We'll talk about the probable pitchers and everything and if that's a good matchup for Bryce. But this is what they were missing. And this is why you never should worry about Bryce Harper, because even if he slumps for like a month or a month and a half, there's so much season and he's such a good ball player that he's eventually going to turn back into the guy that we know him to be. And he's not even at full strength now. Like, this is just good baseball, Bryce Harper. When there's another level above this where Bryce can be MVP caliber Bryce, and that's a guy that could take the Phillies from great to, I don't even know, unstoppable. But Harper's fully come out of his slump. And now the lineup is a lot more balanced because not as much is on Kyle Schwarber's plate. Not as much as on Trey Turner's plate. Bryson Stott's plate at the top of the lineup. The bottom of the order, not required to do as much. You now have a top four in the order. Excuse me, as my voice is going on me. A top four in the order. Bryson Stott up at the top, putting together great at-bats just about every time. Trey Turner hitting over 300. Bryce Harper heating up like crazy in the 3-hole, and then protecting him is the guy tied for the major league leading home runs, and Kyle Schwarber, who's been the best hitter on this team. Like, how do you get through that top four? The Phillies have been scoring runs early out there in Colorado. There's no secret as to why. It's because the top four in their lineup, day in and day out, are productive. And Bryce Harper has been the main factor of like the bridge between the first two and the rest of the lineup. Like, Stott and Turner kind of exist on their own plane as like contact hitters to set the table. And then Bryce Harper's kind of the guy that's supposed to bridge that to Schwarber, Castellanos, Realmuto, Bohm, Kepler, all those guys down in like the middle to bottom middle part of the lineup. And Harper just hadn't been doing his job, but he is woken up right now. And there's so many numbers that show you that he's just on a heater right now. And I brought it up with Schwarber, right? When I said, oh, well, Kyle Schwarber, he gets on these hot stretches, and it might be like 2 weeks on, 1 week off. Great. Love that. Harper is totally different. When Harper gets on these hot stretches, it's like months of this. It's just rolling. And that's how he puts up the numbers that he does, because once he figures it out, he doesn't lose it for a long time. So you should feel pretty good about where Bryce Harper is for the Philadelphia Phillies. We will see. It'll be a big test to see him against the Athletics. Better pitching staff, better baseball team. It'll be a big test to see him against the Braves when the Phillies come back home. Much better pitching staff. So I'm not saying like, oh, he's perfect, he doesn't need to work on anything. Like, you're going to need to see him continue to do it, and you want to see him stay this hot. But I think this was just what the doctor ordered facing the Pirates and the Rockies to get the confidence going. And he seems like he's putting great swings on the baseball right now. So Bryce Harper officially back, no longer slumping. Shout out to Buzzcut. That may have been what fixed it. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are saying, well, Nick Sirianni, head coach of the Eagles, who just got an extension, he buzzed his head in like week 5 of the season or week 4 of the season for the Philadelphia Eagles this last year, and they won the Super Bowl. So Bryce Harper buzzes his head. Are the Phillies winning the World Series? And in my professional opinion, there's no evidence to refute that. Seems like the Phils are going to win the World Series. I don't know what else to tell you. I've seen it happen one time, and that one time it worked out. So the haircut's the haircut, but it's still pretty cool to see him start to swing it again, and this team continue to produce around him. And this is the version of the Phillies that you hoped you would see. Now we're seeing it in May. How did they sustain that? And who are the main catalysts for how they've done this? It's not just Bryce Harper. I got a chance to talk to Hall of Fame baseball writer Jayson Stark yesterday. And Stark gave myself and Ricky Batalico some pretty substantial information on a couple of numbers and trends this year that you should feel really, really good about. One is actually a multi-year trend. So we'll tell you about that coming up next as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Supply House, because you can get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades with Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Maybe you need help with an order. That happens, right? Well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you're always going to talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, there's more. Yeah, of course there's more. Use promo code SH5. That's S is in supply, H is in house, 5 is in the number 5 for 5% off your first order. Go ahead and check them out. What more could you want? That's why they're supplyhouse.com. All right, Jayson Stark. What did he have to say about the Fightin' Phils this week? You know he is an encyclopedia of knowledge, a baseball Hall of Famer. I am honored that I get the chance to interview him every Wednesday. And I'm happy that I get to bring that information here to you on the Locked On Phillies podcast. So where do I start? Well, let's start with where he started. We're going to go in kind of chronological order with the numbers. So the Philadelphia Phillies, yesterday, when we were doing this interview, and still today, but yesterday, were tops in the National League record-wise. They were the best team in the National League at that point in the season, better than the Dodgers, Mets, Braves, everybody that plays National League baseball. And at this point last year, the Phillies were also the best team in the National League. Now, this is not a small sample size. No, they've played a good amount of games. It's about a quarter of the season. Excuse me. But it's still enough of a sample size to be like, okay, we know what these teams are. We have a general idea of who's good and who's not. Colorado Rockies are not. Philadelphia Phillies are. But Jayson Stark talked about the back-to-back years of this point in the season being the team leading the National League. And he went back and he tried to find a period of Phillies baseball where they had those back-to-back seasons like that. And he laid it out and was like, well, 2010, 2011, when they had those monster pitching staffs, nope, didn't get it done. 8, 9, World Series both years, won it in 08, nope. Go back until the 90s, nope. 80s, nope. 70s, nope. Back to the Whiz Kids in the 50s, nope. Go all the way back to when you can keep track of this stuff, back at the start of the 1900s, and you can't find it. This Phillies team is the first back-to-back year first place in the NL at this point in the season in franchise history, as far as Jayson Stark could tell. I need you to understand what that means, because my initial thought was, that may be a little bit nitpicky on the stats, right? Like you're just picking this specific time and this specific number. It's not Major League Baseball, it's the National League and everything, but you just need to think about this. We are in one of the best stretches of Philadelphia Phillies baseball in franchise history, folks. This team has been consistently amazing. And I know they haven't had a World Series. I get it. I'm rooting for that. If they don't get it, they're not going to be remembered the way the 08 team was, the way the 80 team was. Like, no, it's not going to happen. But in the moment, while there's still a chance for them to win the World Series, and they're still currently on the quest to do so, and we don't know. You don't know. I don't know. Jayson Stark doesn't know. Bryce Harper doesn't know whether or not the Phillies will win the World Series this year. So, well, you have one of the great stretches in your franchise's history that spans like forever, over 100 years, right? And you're looking at that and you say, oh, yeah, but I don't think they're going to win in the postseason, so I don't care. Or I don't have faith in this team. Like, believe in something. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, this team's good. And all the numbers indicate that this team is good. And, like, historically good. The stretch they're on is historically good. I'm not telling you they're going to win the World Series, plan the parade, like, do all that stuff. No. What I'm telling you is this is a good baseball team. There have been people throughout the year that have told me they're not. Every time they do, it seems like it kind of comes back and bites them in the rear because then they go on some of these stretches like this and they're undeniably good at baseball. And yes, they have their flaws and everything, but this is the most put together stretch of Philadelphia Phillies baseball that we probably ever seen in our lives. And even though they don't have the World Series and people say 08, 9, 10, 11, okay, you can make that argument. This is about as good as it gets, though, folks. And whether they get a ring or not, you have to sit there in the regular season and cherish this time. So just a perspective thing of how good the stretch of baseball we're seeing from the Philadelphia Phillies is in this Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Ramiro Castellanos, Turner era, right? That's what I'm talking about. Now, something else. Be careful as I tell you this, because I almost started to salivate yesterday when I heard him bring this up. We were talking about Jesus Luzardo a lot on the radio program yesterday and TV program as well. And he does not get enough credit for what he's done this year. Not that people are like anti-Jesus Luzardo. No, people love him, but he's kind of just like this. Yeah, he's really good. And that's it. And that's where the conversation ends. Like, no, he's going to be a Cy Young candidate. Like, he's going to be in the National League Cy Young race. He has been that good. He has been unbelievable. And if you want to know how good his start to a season has been, he is undefeated. He has a sub-2 ERA. He has all of these strikeouts. And Jayson Stark looked up left-handed pitchers in the history of baseball to have a 5-0 start with a sub-2 ERA and all of these other numbers that Jesus Luzardo has that are like showing as really, really strong numbers to start the year. There is only one other left-handed pitcher in the history of baseball that has started out a season this way. And that guy's name is Randy Johnson. Yeah, how wild is that? Jesus Luzardo, Randy Johnson. The only two lefties that ever start a season like this. And I'm not saying Luzardo's Randy Johnson. Like, obviously, they're much different style of pitchers. But do you understand what type of numbers are being put up right now? Do you get that Randy Johnson is like, a lot of people would have him Game 7, any pitcher that's ever lived on this planet. He's the guy for a lot of people. Like, and Jesus Luzardo is doing what he did, like what only he did. That's remarkable. And this is why I bring up Jesus Luzardo and say we're not talking enough about him, because you've got this high level, top of the sport arm for Starlin Cabo, who's hitting like 200 in A ball this year. No knock on Starlin Cabo. That feels like a ricochet shot, I know. But people are so attached to prospects sometimes. And sometimes you got to be, sometimes you need to give them up. So there's a balance between what you should trade and what you shouldn't. But the Phillies feel pretty darn good about this trade right now, and the Marlins probably don't feel all that great, even though they're not trying to win right now. It's just you love to see a guy come into the city and have that level of success. And it's funny, it's not just a Luzardo thing. It's a Spencer Turnbull thing. It's a Michael Lorenzen thing. Like these guys that you bring in, it's a Matt Strom thing that get forced into the rotation or put into the rotation, and they have these debuts. It seems like every year they have someone. It's a Taijuan Walker thing that you don't expect to be a major part of the rotation or as good as they are, and they constantly overachieve when they are acquired and brought in and put in the rotation. Now, I think part of that is the strength of the rotation around them. You know how with the Philadelphia Eagles, stay with me here. If you're an Eagles fan, you know they have one of the best, if not the best, offensive lines in football. And every once in a while, one of the 5 guys on the offensive line works out perfectly. That's 5 because that's how many pitchers in the starting rotation in Major League Baseball. When one of the 5 linemen goes down, backup comes in. But the strength of the other 4 linemen is so much above their opponent that it seems to influence the other guy, the backup, to play even better. And they feel more comfortable because they know what they have around them. The Phillies rotation is like an offensive line. So when you add somebody in or when somebody goes down, we saw it with Mick Abel. When somebody goes down, you step in and it's just like, okay, well, I don't feel the pressure to do that. But like you're looking at a situation where everyone else is going to hold the rope. And it's like, okay, I got Wheeler behind me. And I got Suarez behind me, and I got Sanchez behind me. So what do I care? I'm just going to go out there and do my thing and shove, and it'll all work out. So that's why Jesus Luzardo, I think, has had the success that he's had partially. But the other part of it is he's just a damn good pitcher. And the Phillies got a steal of a deal trading for him from the Miami Marlins. And to hear him compared to Randy Johnson, music to my ears. I felt very, very good when I heard that from Jayson Stark. So a little bit of some Stark tidbits for you there as we look towards Game 4 of the Phillies and Rockies. Are we going to see the 4-game sweep? I mean, at this point, we better. That whole don't ever expect a sweep conversation, that goes completely out the window when you realize how bad of a team you're playing. And I got to be honest, I did not realize the Rockies were this bad of a team. I knew they were very, very beatable, but my God, they're just flat out terrible. All due respect to Rockies fans, I'm sorry you have to go through this. It's not your fault. It wasn't Bud Black's fault either, their manager or former manager who got fired. But the Phillies will take one more if you got them. And we'll talk about how they take that one more as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Phils Rocks Game 4. Can the Phils complete the 4-game sweep? Can they win their 7th straight game? They've won 6 straight right now and go into Sacramento to face the Athletics on a high note. Well, we'll see. But, I mean, come on. Do we really have to see? It's crazy, some of these numbers. Of all the games the Phillies have played against the Rockies, the first 3, they're never more than a minus 200-something favorite. The Phillies are minus 310 on the money line today with Ranger Suarez on the mound. He's facing off against German Marquez, and these numbers are laughable. 40 innings worth of work for Marquez this year. He is 1-6 with an 8.78 ERA. He's struck out 21 in 40 innings, so about one every other inning. He's got a 1.83 whip. He's given up 57 hits, 16 walks, only 4 home runs. So he's not really giving up the long ball, but he's not getting anybody out. Like German Marquez has had an awful start to the year, just like pretty much everybody else on the Rockies, and that's why they're 8-41. Now Suarez has only pitched twice, but he's 2-0. And in 17 2/3 innings pitch, he's made 3 starts. In 17 2/3 innings pitch, he struck out 17, so the strikeout stuff is working. He's just been very, very comfortable to watch. Now, there are times last year where he looked dominant, and he wasn't just, hey, I'm going to get you to roll over to second or roll over to shortstop. Like, that's what he would do if he needed to. But his strikeout stuff was much better at points, and he was more confusing hitters than just like getting them to make bad swings. It was like baffling them entirely at points last year. Maybe we'll see that tonight. The Rockies offense is not productive. This could be a get right game for Ranger Suarez too. Not that he really needs to get right, but he feels like he's just on that verge of being back to his old self, his old dominant self. And maybe this is the actual extra kickstart he needs to round out where after this, you should probably be like, yeah, we're expecting great Ranger Suarez every time out, right? That's kind of it. And I'm expecting great Ranger Suarez today, but more as a product of who they are facing. Now, Marquez, a righty, you're going to have the normal Philadelphia Phillies lineup, which is probably going to be, well, you should have Stott, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, Kepler, Real Muto. I guess Bohm, Marsh would be the way that you go about it. But with a 4-game series, no off day, a trip to face the Athletics after the game tonight, and they'll play the Athletics tomorrow on Friday night. So it's been a long week for the Philadelphia Phillies, even though it's been easy. You're going to see some weird things in this game. You might see Rafael Marchand catch. JT's caught all 3 games in the first 3 of this series. So I wouldn't be surprised if Marchand was going to be the guy behind the dish. Edmundo Sosa's had a nice series. Do they get him back in there, or do they give him a day and play Stott at second base? I don't know. Does any of the do any of the other guys get a day? Does Bohm get a day for Sosa? Does Turner get a day for Sosa? Does Harper maybe get a day? I don't think so, but that's the thing. With this final game of the series, you could see one of those weird Rob Thompson lineups, and I don't think they're give-up lineups. I don't think that at all, especially against the Rockies. You could throw me today, and it wouldn't necessarily be a give-up lineup. But the Phillies will probably have some changes in there. And the other thing that could be weird is the bullpen. You haven't really seen high-leverage arms in this series because you haven't needed them. Strom, I almost said Alvarado. Obviously, he's not throwing anytime soon. Kerkering. I almost said Hoffman. Where's my brain today? Strom, Kerkering, Romano. You should probably see those guys today, maybe even if you're not in a tight game. And part of the reason behind that is because you don't want to let these guys get rusty. They do need to get work. I think the proper amount of rest is 1 game on, 2 games off, 1 game on. That would be the ideal amount of rest. Now, that's not always possible, but what you're looking at is you say, okay, at some point you can't give them 3 straight days off without then throwing them the 4th day. So you may see Matt Strom in a 5-run game. You may see Romano in a 7-run game. Don't freak out over that. Don't think, oh, are they using the bullpen differently? It's just a usage thing. They need to get them out there. I imagine it may also be an empty the bench type of pinch hitting day in case you want to save some guys with a flight coming up. Hey, all right, we've got this game in hand. Let's pull some of our starters. So expect a very, very conservative Rob Thompson, the way he manages this final game. Okay, I guess conservative. Conservative in one way and liberal in the other, in that conservative, pull your starters as soon as you can, get guys rest. But liberal in that we're going to use some of our back-end bullpen arms in places that we probably shouldn't because they need the work, right? So that's the balance that Rob Thompson is going to try and strike today. The Phillies are heavily, heavily, heavily favored in this game. They should win all 4. They should absolutely smoke the Colorado Rockies. That would make them 7-0 with 2 sweeps against the Rockies this year. I don't know how teams lose to this team. I want the Phillies to just stay and play in Denver forever, even though they're not the most exciting games, and they're a little bit later than what we're used to on the East Coast as far as time. Yes, I do have a bedtime. This has been we're going to look back at this, and it's not going to be a huge turning point to the season, I don't think, or anything, right? We're not going to say, oh, well, that's what gave them the confidence, or that's where no, it's the Rockies. They stink. This series means very little besides the wins that you can collect. But I do think we need to take into account, this is one of the great offensive series that we're going to see in this era of Phillies baseball, the Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto era, the Big 5. This is as good as they can look over 3 or 4 games, depending on what they do today, offensively in a series. It probably won't happen again this year, but that's why we got to enjoy it while we still have it, because it's been a fun time out there in Denver, in the Mile High City. I'm sure the Phillies feel like they never want to leave, but get one more win today, roll on, head to Oakland with 7 straight wins, and see if you can keep Major League's longest winning streak alive. But got to take care of business today. Can't slip up. 4-foot putt, or I guess 3-foot putt is the expression. 4 was just in mind because it's game 4. Do not lose a game to this team, or people are going to make fun of us, including Mets fans. So don't do that, please. I would prefer not to have to field those tweets. Take care of business, and we'll be on to face the Athletics over the weekend. And I'm going to try and get together with the folks of Locked On Athletics for a crossover episode. If we're able to do that, that'll air tomorrow. If not, I'll just preview the series myself, but trying to work that out as well. So a lot of good content still coming tomorrow for you on Locked On Phillies, but that's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all of that great stuff. That really helps us out. I appreciate you all very much, and I'll talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.